What a beautiful evening it is, guys. I had to kick back and lean in my chair just to take in the sheer entertainment that I've been watching. I'll talk about the joinder thing, Debbie. Give me a second, okay? There's a lot going on. When I saw the governor's press release today, the first thing that I thought of was the movie Forrest Gump, to where Forrest finally breaks free and he takes off running down the lane and turns the corner and he's gone. Because, Forrest is pretty fast. I don't know if the governor or even myself for that matter could run that fast. But that's what the governor's doing. He's running. Guys, you keep blowing the questions up over here. Can you please just wait a little bit, okay? For goodness sakes. We're going to be talking about world peace over there before long. Let me talk. If you want to ask questions, ask questions. I'm not going to read that stuff. I can't concentrate when you're asking me 50 different things over here on the side and I haven't even got to it yet. Please. So the governor issues his press release and he's off to the races, man. He's just running. How many times have I told you guys that the governor was just looking for some little breath of air to try to say, oh, the facts and science are now, everybody's free and I'm great. He was just looking. And you guys shouldn't be fooled by that, okay? You should not be fooled by any of that. He's got some of the mainstream media now putting it out. Mask mandate to be lifted on Monday. Guys, there is no mask mandate. It doesn't exist. Come on. He can't lift anything. He's trying to fool you guys with his gaslighting. There is no mask mandate to lift. It doesn't exist. There's no such thing. So he's not lifting anything. I'm going to explain it to you. And I want you to understand it. We'll talk about the joinder. We'll talk about all that. Just guys, slow down over there on the right-hand side, okay? The TRO that was entered in this case back on February 4th by Judge Grishow. Guys, the restraining order itself, and again, I'm going to talk about our statewide issue. We've got smaller issues that we're going to talk about in a second, but from a statewide issue, the temporary restraining order was not the most important piece of what happened on February 4th. The judge's ruling of February 4th was very limited in scope. But as a result of that, over 700 school districts across this state went fully mask optional. That was the biggest part of that conversation, not because of the TRO, but because of the language and the rulings and the findings of the judge within the TRO about how the governor had no authority. Do you understand what I'm saying? The mere fact that the restraining order was entered had very limited impact. Now, there are a few school districts that we'll have to address, and I'm going to get to all of that. But that's what I want you to understand. Judge Grishow's order, it was more about the meat of what she was saying that was the problem for J.B. Pritzker versus the restraining order itself. It was about the way she just laid it out there that he doesn't have any authority. Okay? She found in her ruling he didn't have any authority as governor to do anything with his executive orders. She found that those emergency rules were invalid and void. And she also, to a certain extent, said school districts don't have any authority to do these things on her own. Now, the language that she used as to the school districts having any authority to do things on their own was not quite as clear as it probably should have been. But that's okay. She's still, if you recall yesterday, and I'll get to that too, she clarified it. But in her initial order of February 4th, there was a question about what she meant as it related to the authority of the school districts. You with me so far? Judge Grishow's order said, governor's got no authority. These emergency rules are void and invalid. And in a very roundabout way, but not real clear, she said school districts can't do these things either. Here we go. Off to the appellate court we go. The governor, when he went into the appellate court in the 4th, was asking the 4th appellate court to overturn Judge Grishow's restraining order, Not because the restraining order in itself was necessarily that problematic. It's because she found that the governor had no authority to do any of this stuff on his own. Okay? By the time it got to the appellate court, the JCAR committee, the Joint Committee of Administrative Rulemaking, had issued their suspension of those rules. So those rules are gone as if they don't even exist. So if you take the rules out of the conversation, gone. You still have, does the governor have any authority? Do the school districts themselves have any inherent authority? Those two issues are still alive in the appellate court, okay? As to the issue of the inherent authority of the school districts, the appellate court found that they didn't believe that Judge Grishow had actually said that the school districts don't have any, or weren't restrained. I don't know that the appellate court fully appreciated her order, but that issue is still alive today, and we will deal with, I'll get back to the inherent authority of school districts that they don't have, but the appellate court kind of left that issue to the side, and they focused on J.B. Pritzker and what they thought about what he was saying. I've got the power. I can issue executive orders. And it doesn't matter about these emergency rules of these administrative agencies. I don't need those emergency rules of these administrative agencies because I've got the power. Let me show you what the appellate court said about old J.B. Pritzker when he's got the power. Pull it up, Ryan. Look at this, guys. Read close. When the appellate court asked, I'm going to read it and I'm going to tell you what it means. In response to this court, this is the appellate court's inquiry on how JCAR's February 15th, 2022 suspension of the rules affected this appeal, the state defendants in essence argue the now expired emergency rules were not and are not necessary to effectuate Executive Order 24's new definition of modified quarantine. We disagree. What the appellate court was saying is that J.B. Pritzker was trying to argue to the appellate court, it doesn't matter that those rules of the JCAR committee suspended, those administrative agency rules, doesn't matter that they suspended them. I still got the power as the governor to effectuate my executive orders by themselves. And the appellate court disagreed with him and said, no, you don't. So that's where they found that the appeal, or that the JB's appeal was moot. The appellate court says it's moot because there are no emergency rules. J.B. Pritzker doesn't have the power in a vacuum to do any of this. And we don't believe that Judge Grishow was really restraining the local school districts on inherent authority. So they found the appeal was moot. When they found the appeal was moot, this is important. That does not mean that they disagreed with Judge Grishow's restraining order. They were just, what they're saying is it's not necessary anymore. You don't need a temporary restraining order because the reason you issued the restraining order is no longer necessary. Make sense? So here goes J.B. Pritzker. He's mad still because the appellate court has refused to acknowledge that J.B. Pritzker has any authority himself, because the appellate court said, no. These administrative agencies and their emergency rules, without them, your executive order doesn't mean anything. And he can't stand that. So he runs off to the Supreme Court of the state of Illinois, and here's what he asked the Supreme Court of the state of Illinois to do. Show it, Ryan. Look at number 1. Here's what J.B. Pritzker is asking our Illinois Supreme Court to do. The appellate court erred by dismissing the entire interlocutory appeal as moot based upon JCAR's actions suspending the renewal of the IDPH emergency rule, where the main issue in the case is the validity of the governor's executive orders was not dependent on the JCAR action. The governor is asking the Supreme Court of Illinois to say the appellate court erred in finding this case moot because the governor's executive orders are really where it's all at. The Illinois Supreme Court refused to take that issue up. So that means that the appellate court ruling of the 4th is still the law that J.B. Pritzker has no authority under his executive orders to do anything in a vacuum. So there is no mandate under an executive order because it has to be included with a lawful rule of an administrative agency. And since there is no lawful rule, the executive order means nothing. That is the rule of law today. The Supreme Court did say, but oh, by the way, since it is a moot issue because the governor's rules mean nothing by themselves, the governor's mandates mean nothing, and there are no rules with JCAR, the TRO is not necessary, it's vacated, and then send the case back to Judge Grishow. That's what they did, okay? Does that make sense to you, what's going on? I'll talk about what that means again in a second. But so when the governor then goes on, he's looking, politically he's suffocating. And he's looking for any little burst of air so he can jump out there and say, oh, I took care of it. And so he comes out now and saying, oh, they denied my appeal, but they found that they vacated the TRO. That's because the TRO wasn't even necessary anymore because he doesn't have any authority. And so when he's telling everybody in these mainstream media just lap it up like lap dogs, we're going to lift the mandates on Monday because the CDC says it's okay. Guys, there is no mandate for him to lift. He doesn't have one. The appellate court said he doesn't have any authority to do any of that. So there is no mandate to lift. You with me? I'll say it again. There is no mandate for him to lift on Monday. There's nothing that he can do. He's out of the picture. What does that leave us with? That leaves us with, we're going to go back to the trial court. And we're going to deal with these school districts that still are kind of, well, we got this inherent authority issue. Judge Grishow addressed that issue after her TRO today in a ruling, okay? And I want to show you what Judge Grishow said. The court entered a temporary restraining order on February 4th, 2022. It doesn't matter that this restraining order is not in effect right now because this is the ruling that she has. This is what she believes the law is because we're going back to her court. And page 16 of that order briefly addressed the independent authority of school districts. The TRO said that each policy of the individual school districts will have to be addressed on a case-by-case basis. The TRO does provide, so again, her legal mind and her analysis is what is important here. The legislature specified that school districts still had to cooperate with IDPH on health-related issues, and the individual policies still have to comply with the existing law, providing due process to individuals should they object. Judge Grishow's opinion, her legal analysis, which is still valid because nobody overturned her legal analysis, which is really what JB was trying to accomplish, is still binding and lawful. And we're going back to her court, and she said right here, local school districts do not have inherent authority to violate due process. They can issue their own policies. They cannot violate due process. So we're going back to the appellate court with all of the existing parties and all of my people that are wanting to join this case. You're listening now, and I'm going to send you an email later. You're all still alive and well in this case, all of you. We're going to come back into this case, and we're going to put two things to rest. We're going to get a final ruling out of this court for everyone against all of these school districts that they don't have the authority to issue these mandates in their schools because of J.B. Pritzker. That's pretty much over already. J.B.'s pretty much out. And you don't have any inherent authority to violate due process. Judge Grishow just said it right there. You just read it. We're going to come back and we're going to, because keep in mind, what we were dealing with so far was just temporary stuff. It wasn't the permanent rulings. It's temporary. Now we're going to get the permanent ruling that says, no, you can't do these things. And any school district right now, I know we got CPS we're going to deal with. Any other school district, that we're representing against is going to try to say they might want to go back to a mask optional or mandate policy because there's no TRO, we're going to be back in court on another TRO specifically addressing their inherent authority that the appellate court didn't think was really in front of them in full fashion, which was, again, that's fine. We'll come back at it head on. You don't have any authority. And the judge has already shown you in her order what she thinks about their inherent authority. Does that make sense? The issue with the vaccines and my teachers that I'm still dealing with too, again, just because the TRO is gone, the governor's mandates are gone. Your school district now has nothing to rely upon for vaccination and testing. Nothing whatsoever. We'll bring that back in front of the court too, to the extent any of your school districts want to try to force vaccination or testing. I'll be sending an email out to my clients this weekend for my teachers. Any vaccination or testing, that's going to change. I want to know what's happening. Any of my clients that are listening, I want to know what your school districts are doing, right? Are they going to try to go back? Because if they try to go back and say, oh yeah, the governor's got no, the emperor has no clothes. He's like gone. But our school districts are still trying this inherent authority, Tom. You let me know, because we're coming back and we're going to put this to rest. So J.B. Pritzker, again, he's just grasping at straws, trying to say, oh, I can try to weasel my way out of this. Because he said in his press release, the court said we have the authority. That is a complete and utter lie. The court's never said he had any authority. Because they vacated the judge's TRO is because we didn't need it anymore, right? It doesn't say her analysis is flawed. It actually doesn't even address her analysis. Her analysis is perfectly intact. It's just the TRO was vacated because those courts said you don't need it anymore because JB's got no authority. Does that make sense to you guys? And so I want you to make sure that all of your friends know. Guys, you're talking about people suspended and fired. I mean, I have not addressed any of that stuff in these cases yet. That is separate, okay? It's a separate issue. But to this issue right now, you need to make sure that everybody knows there's no masks on your kids because the courts didn't uphold JB. They ruled against JB. He's not lifting anything on Monday. You spread it far and wide because this mainstream media, they're going to try to just out here, go JB, you're lifted the mandate on Monday. He didn't. He knew nothing. He's pretending. It's all gaslighting. It's all a facade. Does that make sense? The Supreme Court shot him down big time. And they just merely said, you know what, since the issue was moot, there's no TRO. I don't disagree with that legal analysis. When the appellate court ruled that the issue was moot, I knew that we didn't need the TRO anyway, and the appellate court should have, in fact, done that if there were other issues that didn't need to be addressed. I was okay with that analysis, and the Supreme Court made it clear. But J.B. Pritzker lost at the Supreme Court. He lost at the appellate court. Because I want to make sure you understand, this was never about a restraining order. This was about a court agreeing with J.B. Pritzker and saying that he has the power as the executive to issue these mandates and people have to listen. He lost it every time. He lost it in front of Judge Grishow. The appellate court didn't help him, and the Supreme Court of the state of Illinois didn't help him. None of them said, yeah, JB, you got the power. No, they didn't. And he's running, and he's trying to get the newspapers to cover his behind because he's licking his wounds. And the Attorney General wants to try to help him with that. But we'll deal with that Attorney General stuff later. So we're coming back next week. Everybody that's in the cases, everybody that's in the joinder, everybody that's in the new cases that are coming, you know who you are. You're listening to me. We're coming full force next week. We're not going to worry about these administrative agencies anymore. Daycare done wiped them off. We're going to put JB's facade of authority to rest, and we're going to put this issue of school districts having any inherent authority to rest, because we're not rolling into next fall when your babies go back to school with them trying to say, oh my God, COVID's going up again. We got to have the mask mandates. No, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Judge Grishow has already said what she thinks about that. Okay. And right now, even starting next week, any school district that's going to try to say we're still going to keep the masks. And again, I know CPS is on it. We're not going to get, is it Kaisha? I'm sorry. We're not going to get CPS in line on Monday. It's not going to happen on Monday. It's going to take us some time for me to get a hearing in front of Judge Grishow on CPS. We'll get there. Okay. It's going to take a little bit of time, but we'll get there for CPS. Trust me, it's coming. Let me see now. That's all I got. I'll try to answer some questions, but I'm not going to talk about things that are unrelated to what we're dealing with right now. I'm not going to be going off on world peace, guys, okay? We will be having, who is that? Somebody said that. It's Christy. We're going to amend our pleadings to deal with what we just got from the Supreme Court, and then I'm going to seek a hearing on a restraining order against CPS for certain, and any of these other school districts that think they're going to want to try to put masks back on your kids. We'll deal with all. We'll deal with any and all of them. Right now, we know we got CPS. Okay, Christy? Okay. Rachel says, can we still join against CPS? I don't have anything open right now for more people to join CPS. Let me think about that, okay, ma'am? Again, we've got a lot of people, and Ryan does a great job of keeping everybody under control with his his communication skills and his technology. It's really worked out well for us, but as of right now, we don't. Again, Lisa, I don't know when that hearing is going to be heard. We just got a ruling from the Supreme Court a few hours ago. I can't tell you when we're going to have a hearing. It'll be as quick as I can possibly make it, okay? I don't know what he's going to do with daycare kids, you guys. We'll just have to wait and see. Why would we not hold a press conference to set the record straight? That's my buddy Patrick says. Patrick, every reporter that's called me, I've told them this. We still see the headlines coming from ABC Chicago. They're just a liberal left-wing news article agency. It's nothing new. Mask mandate lifted on Monday, and I just laugh. But you know what? You can't control the mainstream media. What I need you guys to do is to message every one of your friends and every one of their friends and make sure people know there is no mandate for J.B. Pritzker to lift on Monday. It's a complete and utter facade. He's trying to gaslight you guys, and he's going to turn on the gaslighting between now and November on all of you. Try to think he's the man. You're just going to have to deal with it. That's the price you pay when we elect a narcissistic gaslighter like J.B. Pritzker. Pam, you're right. They originally said Supreme Court rejected his appeal because they did reject his appeal. And again, they rejected his appeal where he was asking them to say, Judge Grishow and the appellate court got it wrong. I got the power. I got the power. They rejected that appeal. They said no. So that means the appellate court ruling holds. JB doesn't have the power. And again, vacating the TRO is perfectly legally appropriate because you didn't need it anymore for the issues of JB's authority because he didn't have any. There's no TRO needed for that. We'll come back on the TROs as to these school districts and their inherent authority. We'll take care of that. But again, they didn't hear any of those appeals because they all agree JB doesn't have any power. Colleges, Michael, are a different issue. Again, the colleges, I'm trying to do everything I can. I'm one guy trying to fight off all these government overreach and also trying to run for an election. I'm not here to politic you guys today, but if I'm Attorney General, the masks are coming off all these kids and all these colleges, and this vaccination and testing and of our children and the masks of our children in colleges and stuff. Again, if we don't have it taken care of by November, you put me in that Attorney General seat in November, and I promise you I'll take care of it. I'll have 500 people at my disposal, then lawyers, and I'll rain down on them, and we'll get rid of all of it. Okay, let me see here. Where's my friend Carolyn saying, yeah, guys, and Ryan's probably going to chime in here something soon, but as to the issue of the ballots, or the petitions, I'm sorry, getting petitions signed, if you guys can help us get those petitions signed, we've got till pretty much May 7th, give or take, to get those signatures in. My buddy Blaine Wilhauer, who's my House rep here, is going to be having signature petition tomorrow. If you guys could go see Blaine, he'll have mine. Blaine's going to be doing it tomorrow morning, he says, in Louisville from 8 to 11. He didn't tell me where in Louisville. Let me find out real quick. But, he's signing. He's got his petition in Louisville, and he'll have mine. So if you could go see Blaine.
Yeah, just, why, Tom, you're answering some questions. I wanted to reinforce the fact that look at all that you've done is just you and one person as we're moving into the.
Hold on a second, but hey, Blaine, it's Tom.
Yeah, Tom.
I'm talking here. Where's your thing in Louisville tomorrow? If people want to come out and sign.
It's on the square in Louisville.
On the square in Louisville?
Yep.
Okay, I just told them they're going to come. Hey, go see my buddy Blaine Wilhauer, Representative Wilhauer, getting his signature signed in Louisville on the square, and my petitions will be there too. Thanks, buddy. Have a good night.
Hey, you got it, bud.
All right, bye. Go ahead. Sorry about that, Mr. Cunningham. Go ahead, sir.
No, that's important. We get to the point as you're looking at these questions coming in. It's coming into the Attorney General race. Look at all the work that you've done as one attorney to take on this, task that's at hand today, and having the power of the AG's office to overturn all this. Just imagine, the people, what we can accomplish, with all these attorneys at our hand to accomplish this instead of just a very small staff that we're doing. And this is the people rising up, and we can get this done. And we need everybody to get these petitions signed. And Ashley is going to be having petitions at the Mardi Gras and the Warden Parade tomorrow, where there's going to be thousands. So if you can get those petitions signed everywhere, we'll get them out and get you on the ballot and get these petitions out. And then TomDeVore.com is where you can go to get these petitions right now. And Blaine obviously is going to have them tomorrow as well too. So
yeah, and aren't those petitions on our website, Ryan?
Yep, TomDeVore.com. We got instructions of what it takes in order to get those petitions out. If you're willing to circulate them, complete instructions there, how to get them notarized, how to get them back to us, TomDeVore.com.
How many signatures, Brendan? Technically, there's 3,250 signatures that are required, 3,250. We're going to try to do 7,000 to 8,000 signatures just so we can make sure that we have enough. Okay. But yeah, but Ryan's right. It's this whole issue. I was talking to someone today and about this matter that we brought in Springfield. That whole process was 1.5 years in the making. I mean, that was not something I just thought up in August of 2021, how I was going to try to get masks off kids. I've been working on that project since Governor Pritzker started this stuff, but it took, when you're dealing with the magnitude of the whole executive branch and all their administrative agencies and the Attorney General's office with them, the thought and the maneuvering and the detail that goes in to putting that in place, getting it at just the right moment with just the right people. I mean, it's like, putting a 50,000 piece puzzle together. And so that's the kind of things that we need to be able to accomplish in the Attorney General's office. But all of these concerns, I have the concerns too of, yes, anyone in Illinois can sign Mary Grace. It's a statewide race. But, next fall when we roll around here and, all of us, this virus is not going away. We're going to have it in our life forever probably. And so when it rolls around again, or we're going to constantly be dealing with, these games that are going on and this intimidation and coercion of people. I mean, it just makes me sick. That's why I'm running for Attorney General. I don't, have any desire to be a politician. When I see Governor Pritzker get on TV and do these press releases out that are just outright lying to you guys, I'm like, how do people do that? You got to be honest and straight. And if I do something, I'm just going to say that's what I did. I'm a human being like everybody else, and that's okay. This whole Ward Cleaver and and stuff, or Beaver or whatever his name was from back when I was a little kid. That movie. It's like, what are you doing? You got to be normal. And JB's lying to people, and it frustrates me. So, as Attorney General, we can take care of all that. You know, these colleges that think they're going to force this stuff on children, it's just ridiculous. You know, and if we can't take care of it between now and November, we'll take care of it. And you know, you put me in that Attorney General seat, I promise you, it'll all go away.
And I think it's important for everybody to note that, you spent the majority of the summer advocating for the parents and going to school board meetings across the southern half of the state of Illinois and speaking up on their behalf, telling these school boards what they need to do well ahead of time before the litigation became even a point of contention. And unfortunately, yeah, this is where we had to come, but that's what we the parents had to do. And you've been here to stand up for them, and hopefully everyone understands that putting you in office, they'll have the full power of the Attorney General's office to accomplish these objectives then.
Yeah, the people won't get attacked anymore if I'm sitting there. But Ryan's right. Even before these lawsuits got filed, there was a whole effort last summer between May and August of me spending a lot of time just explaining the law to you guys and the rules, and you guys kind of started that snowball. So by the time we got into August, you parents were just already on top of it, and you were going to your school board meetings, and you guys used to send me the videos. Some of you would go to those school board meetings and you would start educating these school board members about the law. They didn't even know what you were talking about because they don't know those things. And then JB is just like trying to fight that all back, going, that's not the law. That's not the law. Here we sit now in almost March of 2022. That's the law. And he doesn't have any authority. The courts just said that on this issue of masking and exclusion specifically. And now he's trying to say, well, the CDC is going to now make it all okay so he can run out the door. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I truly hope that the people of this state do not elect that man again. I never tell anybody how to vote, ever. But I'm just saying, I hope that people don't vote for him again. He is the worst kind of politician on the planet. And I don't care that he's a Democrat and I'm a Republican. If he was a Republican, I would say he's the worst kind of politician on the planet because he's not honest with you. He tries to control you. He tries to rule over you. He tries to bend and twist and contort the laws to the point they don't make any sense to get his way. And then he intimidates you with fear and manipulation and coercion. He's been doing it for 2 years. Makes me sick. And again, he's got to go. I wish the Democratic Party would run somebody against him just to get him out of the way. Again, I still will prefer that we have a Republican governor, but I'd sure like to see their own party say that we've had enough of this guy. Who wants a tyrant in their party, either one, Democrat or Republican? I agree, Amy. Amy says the poor CPS kids. I agree with you. Those poor children in CPS. Again, I'm going to do everything I can to get the mask off those kids in CPS. I promise you, I'll do everything I can. But we have to acknowledge the more I push on CPS, is that going to cause the teachers to go on strike because they're not safe? I don't know. We're going to have to find that out. But you're right. The children in our public schools. I was talking to somebody today, you guys, and I'm not going to say the man's name. Nice guy, probably moderate in his beliefs, etc. I don't know that him and I believed on many things together, but great person. But you know what he said to me that I thought was interesting? Because children that are trying to come up from nothing and to make a better life for themselves, I'm kind of sensitive to kids in that position because that's where I come from. And he was talking to me about the public education, or about the education system in Chicago in general. And what he explained to me, and what I became to appreciate, and it may be true, it may be not, you guys would only know that live there, is that children that have absolutely any other option don't go to the public school system in the city of Chicago. They go to private schools because, according to, again, to this man, and I'm not saying it's true, I don't know, that the Chicago public school system is in such disarray that people that have the resources don't send their kids to the Chicago public school system. To the extent that's true, that's sad, because there are many children that can't afford to go to a private education. And so that means our children who need the help the most, because they may come from families that don't have the resources, are getting an inferior education. If that's true, it just broke my heart, because I don't know what I can do about that. But to this issue, now we have the children in this public educational system that are being forced to wear masks. I talked to a lady today, her child has special needs, and with learning how to read, etc., and having to wear these masks and try to learn how to read, about how far her child was behind, and what we could do about trying to fix that. And man, it was just tough. And I'm going to do everything I can to help deal with that. But boy, I sure wish I was Attorney General today, because I'd have a whole lot better, quicker, more successful time in dealing with the Chicago public school system if I had the full force and power of the Attorney General's office. But we'll just have to see, okay? Laura says that's the truth. Let me see here. And again, the joiner thing, I want to make sure you guys understand. That's still just as important now as it was yesterday, because we've got to make sure that we get this taken care of down the road, because JB, if he thinks that he gets a little bit of breathing room, because you guys aren't giving him any breathing room now, none. If he gets a little breathing room, he'll try to put all this stuff back. You heard him say it today. Oh, the court said that we still, we can do that. No, they didn't. Right? He's just setting you all up. That's what he's trying to set you up. So we'll get all that taken care of. We're going to bring you all together. He tries to call my clients the small fringe minority. I'll stand with the small fringe minority every day of the week. But we're going to show him how small fringe minority you guys are. We'll show him in a heartbeat. Again, the buses thing, I had one of, we've had a few people sign up for the bus, because the bus is, again, this facade of the CDC order. It's all garbage. But, I guess there was one school district. I've had a few, not many, parent groups sign up for the school bus issue. And so we were talking about today about her school district said that, well, we're not going to require it on the buses anymore. So that was a good thing. But to the extent they want to keep doing the school buses across the state, if you guys have the appetite for suing these school districts on the buses, we'll do it. It's still an option out there on our website, but we'll just have to cross that bridge as it comes, guys. But as of right now, we've only got a few that have put some interest forth on something like that. It's very true. People push for private charters. They have lost their minds a long time. Christy, just again said again, it is true about the CPS. People push for the private charters over CPS. I mean, that's, again, it's something that's become of interest to me because of all the people I've met in Chicago about what can possibly. I don't know that the Attorney General, there's a lot that they could do in that position to help deal with that quagmire that's going on there. But, watching those children, if in fact what I'm hearing is true from all of you I'm reading about now, and from the gentleman I talked to today, and how can we, because those children, especially the ones that are trying to, they want to live the life that I've lived, come from nothing and to make a better life. It's in education. It all starts with education. And that doesn't mean they have to go on and get 4-year degrees or become doctors and lawyers. They might want to go into a trade and be, work with their hands. That's great. But that foundation of their education in their younger years is very important. And again, to the extent that that's suffering because of the politics of that, I mean, I just don't know. We're going to have to keep trying to figure that one out, you guys. Okay, let me see here. Let me see here. Did somebody say something about the top 5 CPS high schools are also the best in the state and extremely hard to get into. During the pandemic, many families have definitely moved out of CPS to Catholic and private. The top 5 CPS high schools are the best in the state and hard to get into. I'm not sure what that means, but maybe we did. Maybe that's not necessarily an accurate statement. Maybe the CPS school system is so big, maybe it depends upon which of the schools in that big system that you're in. Some are better than others. Like I said, I don't really understand that whole dynamics, but it certainly does interest me. Okay, let me keep taking a look here. Here I'm talking to, this is Angie. She has a child, special needs child in CPS that left me today and didn't want to hear anything regarding the law. Yeah, so I'm, here's a special needs child that wearing masks is a problem for their education, and CPS is just laughing and ignoring them. I mean, it's, that machine of politics in that system, it's probably been going on long even before I was born, and breeding. And I hope that the people of that school district and that community can start taking a hard look and stepping up and trying to change it. Maybe you can't. Maybe the culture of that inside the city and that school system is so, emboldened. Maybe there's nothing that can be done. I don't know. But I mean, the people that talk to me, their children are really struggling. And again, it's sad. And I'm doing everything I can. I will have the Chicago Public School back in the court sometime here real soon, I assure you. I mean, somebody said, what about testing for kids? I mean, testing for kids for what? Heather, I think, said that. I mean, we've not raised the issue of testing in the schools because, testing to get into school. No, I mean, if maybe you're talking about testing for extracurricular activities, we've not raised that in any of these lawsuits. To the extent they're trying to have your kids test for COVID for extracurriculars, it's unlawful. They can't do it. But we've not raised that issue in any of these cases yet. Let me see here. Susan Marie, the people who filed for joinder are officially plaintiffs on the case now. Susan, they will be real soon. I'm going to get that taken. You are in, because now that the Supreme Court's ruled, it's going to be a whole lot easier. So I'm going to get you all in there. I promise you. Again, this test to stay, you guys, that you're talking about. Let me say this, because it's something that I'll be working on with you guys over and over now. And again, you make me Attorney General of the state, I'm not going away. I'll keep doing what we're talking about right now because I can. And I'm going to make sure you guys understand the law and the rules and how they work, because once you guys know how this stuff works, when I'm gone, you'll still be able to take care of business. But this whole test to stay and all of that stuff, there's no foundation for any of that. When they make this stuff up, far too many of you, my friends, just go, oh, okay, that's what we got to do. No. Anytime, and I've said it before, I'm going to tell you again, anytime a government official tells you you have to do something or you can't do something, it's written someplace in the law. It's not written in the frequently asked questions of some administrative agency, because they're going to tell you whatever the hell they think they need to tell you to get them to listen to them. It's written in the law someplace, or it's written in a rule someplace, and it's lawful. I need you guys to start thinking that way, okay? And here's another thing that I want you to do for me, please. The election's coming, okay? And politicians think you're stupid. They do, trust me. I talk to a lot of them in backdoor rooms. They think you're stupid, and you're not. Maybe a little complacent, but you're not stupid. Here's what they're going to do. Why do you think J.B. Pritzker's $50 to $100 million has helped him be successful in the past? Why? Because he spends it on advertising, sound bites, throwing crap in your ears, and you hear it, off to the races you go. Okay, that's what happens. Got to not do that. One of the most intelligent people I ever listened to in my life, he told me something. They said, anytime you hear something or you read something, first thing you need to do is ask yourself, what is this person trying to convince me to believe? What are they after? What do they want? Second thing you need to do is is what they're providing to me based upon something real? Or is it just something that is their opinion, right? What's it grounded in? So when you read something, and when I read something, I've trained myself over decades. When I read something, I don't ever say, okay, I read that, and off to the races I go with that being a legitimate opinion or, fact, or, you say, oh, I read it, it's the facts. No, you have to be skeptical in your thoughts. You have to say, this person's trying to convince me of something. And am I going to arbitrarily just let it convince me of something just because I read it? Don't do that. Don't do that. Because if you start drilling down, paying attention and thinking and saying, I'm going to understand this before I draw a conclusion for myself, all the money in the world that J.B. Pritzker wants to spend on an election won't get him there. And I don't care if you vote for him. I'm not voting for him. If you think he's the guy, vote for him. But don't do it based on sound bites that he gives you on ads. The ads are going to start sometime soon. Going to be pounding on Mr. Irwin or pounding on Darren Bailey or pounding on Gary Rabine about some nonsense. Heck, you might start writing them about me. And you got to ask yourself, when you read that garbage, don't just run off to the races with it, right? Because that's what they're trying to do. They sit in a room and they try to say, what kind of quick messaging can we do to make them think I'm great or to make them think the other guy is bad? That's what they're going to do. And they're going to start it sometime soon. And I'm asking you guys, I don't care who you vote for. Don't fall for those tricks. Don't fall for them. And if that means in this race for the primary for Attorney General, or depending on who wins the primary in the general election, if that means I'm not the guy for the job, that's okay. You could say, hey, Tom, I think that Mr. Kim's the better guy for the job. Okay, I'm good with that, right? That's how politicians should be. This is what I'm about. This is me. This is what I'm going to do. If you want to vote for me, great. If you don't, that's okay too. Not that nasty nonsense that they want to throw at you guys. It's an insult to your intelligence. So don't do that, okay? Let me see here. Okay. Okay, let me see here. I'm on a roll today. Yeah, I understand. Again, I've not met Mr. Irwin. I've met most of the other candidates for governor, and again, I'm not going to comment on that. Again, I want you guys to pick who you think's right. I know who I'll vote for in the primary, but I want you guys to choose who you think's best, and collectively we will pick the right person. Oh my goodness. Let me see here. The ads have already started on YouTube. It makes me sick every time I see them, Carissa says. Is that JB's ad started on YouTube? I wonder how great he is or how bad everybody else is. I wonder which one it is, right? I just have never, I don't know. I've never, I guess I was fortunate. I've never fell for that kind of stuff. Even, again, President Trump, when I voted for him, I had my reasons, but it had nothing to do with all the banter that he goes on about out there beating on his drum and stuff. It had nothing to do with it. I voted for him a lot of times for the policy objectives I thought he might be able to accomplish and things of that nature. But that whole getting out there and rah, 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 that kind of stuff never worked with me. It didn't work with me with him. Okay, let me see here. Oh, let me tell you guys this story. You'll like this story. If we're going on too long, we can shut it off. But we've talked about the important stuff. I had a friend of mine, dear friend, called me a couple days ago saying, Tom, oh, you got to talk about this. You got to talk about this. I said, talk about what? There's a video clip from last August. It's a little snippet. There was a 30-minute FaceTime of mine, and they took a little 2-minute segment of it where I was complaining about a speaker talking about the 2020 audit, right? And the person that was listening to this little snippet was drawing the conclusion that I was ripping on this politician for talking about the 2020 audit. And this particular gentleman, as I understand it, was not getting signatures from me, but now he wasn't so sure he wanted to do that because I was talking negatively about the 2020 audit. And I started laughing. And I told my friend, I was like, if that guy listened to that 2-minute segment and thought that's what I was doing, so he doesn't want to get signature from me, I said, you call him and tell him to tear the damn things up, because I don't have time for guys like that. I don't care what party you're from. And I was laughing. But what it was is last August, we were not even talking about politics. In my not-for-profit, right? You guys are familiar. I got a not-for-profit. It's called the Liberty Initiative. Has nothing to do with the political stuff that I do. Complete not-for-profit. And I was at an event in August up north, and it was not about politics whatsoever. Had nothing to do with it. I was talking to a room full of people of how to protect their babies from having masks on. And I made it clear when we were having that event that there was no politics to be in this whatsoever. And anybody who was speaking wasn't talking about politics. We were talking about babies. And so we go through the people, and then up gets this little bum, Bobby Piton, who wasn't even asked to speak, but he somehow or another weaseled his way in there. And he gets on the stage, and he starts wanting to beat his drum because he's running for some office about the 2020 audit. And I wasn't going to stand for it. Not that I have. You guys want to go fight about the 2020 audit? Go for it. That's your choice. But not at an event that my not-for-profit's putting on that has nothing to do with it. So I was ripping on this guy for turning our not-for-profit event into one of his little diatribes about the 2020 audit. And this person heard that little snippet about it and thought I was digging on the 2020 audit. I'm like, I don't have use for that stuff. I'm not going to be one of those politicians if I'm running for an office that's going to, go, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean that. No, I didn't like it, and I'm going to say I didn't like it. I don't have an opinion of the 2020 audit. If you want to go out there and fight that fight, you go fight that fight. I'm all for you. But he wasn't going to talk about it at my event. So I wanted to let you guys know that's the kind of guy I am. It's like you want to find those little snippets and try to make something out of it that you don't know anything about. I don't have time for that stuff. All right, I'm about done. Guys, the daycares, I've talked about the daycares over and over. You as the parents, if the daycare is requiring you to put a mask on your kid, don't take him to that daycare. You don't have a right to daycare like your children have a right to an education. I can't sue the daycare facility because you don't have a right to take your kid there like you do to K through 12. You understand what I'm saying? If your daycares want to take on DCFS, have them call me. I don't know if your daycares want to take that fight on, though, because you're probably still taking your children there. You're just complaining about the mask. But you don't have a right to daycare. You don't have a right to it. So you can't force your daycare facility to let you in without a mask on. If your daycare facility wants to fight, I have clients who are daycare owners. They don't have masks on their kids because they've told DCFS, I'm not playing that game. If you don't like it, talk to Tom. I can't get every daycare facility in the state to do that with me, but you can't really sue your daycare, guys. You got something to go, buddy?
Yeah, the last, I guess, as you're wrapping up here, we're talking about sound bites. I just want everyone to know, as you speak your mind and your truth and what's going on, it is what it is, and we're going to speak what is true and what is right, and they're going to get sound bites out of it. But that's where we're at. We're going to speak the truth and where we're at and what's going on, and they're going to try everything in their power to construe the narrative to what they think fits them. Let's take the grifter term, because you're fighting the full power of the state of Illinois government. Yes, we're in a very poor financial situation, despite the fact that they have gotten federal money for COVID relief, right? But it is you, as a sole attorney and a very small staff, that is taking that on. You're not out here taking money from the parents. You're not out here taking money from everybody else. You're a sole attorney representing the people of the state of Illinois against the interests that benefit our kids, the parents, and everything that we stand for. So when all this narrative comes to play and all these sound bites come to play, it's you, the parents, that stood up. It's everyone that stood up, and these sound bites are just going to be marginal in the fact that they are exercising the full resources of the state of Illinois. And whenever you're in the Attorney General's office, you're going to be the voice of the people that everyone that is representing. And everyone needs to understand that as we go into this election, right? Yes.
Can you read their echo stuff that's going on there?
Yeah, I can. It's
Tell him, Troy. Tell him, Troy. Dude, turn off your speaker. Get on him, Troy.
It's not on my side. It's on Tom's side. I got the earbuds in, but that's okay. So, but as we get through this, we'll be there, and we'll get this, and we'll get through this. So that's basically what I got for now.
All right, I turned the volume off. Tell him, Troy. He's supposed to be the IT guy, and he was echoing on you guys. But Ryan's right. He's a very intelligent man, and he sees things very well. Ryan does, and they will. They are going to try to prey on, and I don't think it's going to work this year because a lot of people are paying attention this year. But JB's going to try. He's going to try to spend his tens of hundreds of millions to create the sound bites, right? The sound bites to try to turn the people in some narrative that will get him and Kwame Raoul elected again. And if it works, it works, right? I mean, I'm not going to sit here and cry about it. It just, the people have to be the ones that stand up and say, that's not going to work on us anymore. So, but they're going to try it. It's coming. I promise you. You just watch. It'll all start coming. Let me see here. I don't know what any of that means. Okay. I like it. I like it, Troy. Dude, turn off the speaker. That is awesome. Sarah Rogers just said, and I think I might have heard that, Sarah, CDC changed the rules today, stating masks are no longer required on buses. Isn't that convenient? CDC jumps in, and JB Pritzker saves the day for the people of Illinois. He does. I can't wait to see those videos. It just makes me want to puke. Okay, let me see here, guys. I don't have me. I thought I had me a drink in here, but I don't. It's a Friday night. Let me see here. My friend Carolyn. I love you, Carolyn. You're such a kind person. Okay. So yeah, for right now, we don't, the bus, I remember I talked to the lady today. I said, yeah, the bus issue, if CDC dropped it, we don't have to fight with them anymore right now. We can save that bus fight for later. But these school districts and their mandates, to me, that's a bigger issue than the bus issue. But again, the bus issue, if we don't take it on right now, you make me AG. Your kids won't have masks on in the bus next year because President Biden, if he's still in office, he's not been swapped out. We'll take a little swing at President Biden. Anna, what can the joinders do in the meantime with CPS? Again, just give me a little time. I'm going to get us back in front of the judge, okay? I will. Okay. Where's my buddy Brian? Your candor is so refreshing. Brian, I talk like a normal person. you know, as I went through the education, keeping in mind, I didn't always have an education. I grew up in a poor family. You guys know that. But once, there's this impression, Brian, that people get, and I'm trying to work through that. And I want to do that again at whatever level I'm going to be or dealing with this political stuff. There's this perception, Brian, that people that hold positions in politics, whether that be a senator or House Representatives, Attorney General, governor, that they somehow or another have some elevated status that puts them in a position that's above everyday people. There's some thought with that, right? And it's not true. They're not smarter than anybody else. They're not more learned than anybody else. They're no different than me or you or anybody else. It's that simple. And so I know how to talk like them. I do. People see me in a courtroom sometimes and I'm dealing with something and they've known me my whole life and they're going, who's that guy? And it's like I have to put that role in place at times. But 90-something% of the time, what you hear right now is what you'll hear every day. Doesn't matter whether I'm talking at any level or I'm out in the field working with my cows. I'm the same type of guy because people need to see that. We need to know that people in these positions are no different than you and they need your help because leave them to their own device, they're lost. And so they need you, Brian. That's why I do that. Okay. You guys just roll on, man. Give us one tip on daycares, please. Best tip I can give you is eliminate half the kids out of that daycare facility and don't take your kids there anymore and pay them. You watch how fast they start fighting with DCFS then. But or get your daycare facility to fight. But again, they're not gonna pay a lawyer. Not even me. I don't care about that. They're not going to pay a lawyer to go fight DCFS, win that fight. I could win that fight against DCFS for a daycare. But why are they going to spend money fighting that if you'll just bring your kids there with a mask on anyway and just complain about it a little bit? There's no incentive for those daycare facilities to fight back. Does that make sense? That's the tip I can give you. Somebody said that. What's the consequences when JB wins the case? What would remotely get you to believe that JB is going to win the case? JB hasn't won anything at this case yet. So you guys are typing again so fast that I lost that one. But somebody said, what about if JB wins the case? I'm like, what are you talking about? JB's lost this case. The Illinois Supreme Court just said, nah, I don't think so, Scooter. Get on, you're gone. Appeal denied. So, yeah. Oh, here it is. What are possible consequences for JB? Oh, when we win the case. Sorry, Patrick. I'm like, what do you mean when JB? My buddy Patrick is like, what are the consequences for JB when we win the case? I mean, he did knowingly act unlawfully, correct? Okay. I'm not going to get into too much detail with that, Patrick, but you make me Attorney General, I'll show you. But yeah, you've already won this case. I mean, we still got a little bit of work to do. We've already won this case. And again, I'm not going to talk about that much, Karen, but Audit Illinois 2020 Twerp 1. Again, you guys want to do that, go out there and you won't ever see Tom getting in your way, but it's, March of 2022. I don't know how you're going to put that toothpaste back in the tube, but again, I wish you the best of luck. Okay. Oh, Robin Shelton. Did Libertyville get contempt of court today from the judge? Robin, the answer is no, because after I filed the contempt request, the Libertyville school switched their policies back and left my children alone. And they completely changed their policies to fully mask optional, including extracurricular activities, Robin. So no, I did not. I withdrew on behalf of my clients that contempt petition because they changed their policies to conform with what they should have been doing. So the Libertyville school they did right by my clients and the kids of the school, so there was no contempt. Okay. All right, so I think I answered that. So here's what we got tomorrow. There's a lot of stuff coming up in the next, month for certain, but between now and the primary, there's going to be a lot of things going on. We're going to be in a lot of places, and I look forward to that. I love, and again, if any places that you guys know that I'm going to be, please bring your kids out. Nothing pleases me more than to get to see these kids with these smiles on their faces. I mean, so tomorrow I'm going to be in the Mardi Gras in Madison County, and there's a parade there, and some friends are going to be there with us, and so that's going to be a good time. And then I'm going to leave. Let me get my calendar open. I've got to leave that, and then I'm headed after that tomorrow. Let me get my calendar. Tomorrow night. Tomorrow we're going to be at the Lincoln Day dinner in Marion, Illinois. So, yep, I'm going to make sure that's right. It's Saturday, February 26th. So, Lincoln Day dinner tomorrow in Marion in the evening. We'll be there. And then Monday night, if you guys remember, in Springfield, if you can come and bring your kids as well, we're going to have our formal announcement. That's at Pose on the Hill in Springfield. I think that information's out on the website someplace. Look forward to seeing you guys there. I'm going to have, there's one particular young lady from Effingham that's going to come speak. I can't wait to hear her talk. I'll probably have a couple other children and adults talk. I love hearing these stories from these children about how they stood up for themselves. I mean, nothing pleases me more than to hear them defend their rights, because we're going to be real old real soon, and we're going to need these children standing up. So we got to encourage them everywhere we can. But yeah, and then watch the calendar or watch the Facebook. Again, I have my personal account. You guys watch a lot. We've got American Freedom Society, and then we've also got a page. What's it called, Ryan? You can chime in. I don't know if they've changed it yet, but go ahead, Ryan. You tell them about that.
Yeah, so it's Thomas DeVore Appellate Court right now. Facebook has not changed the name change to just Thomas DeVore, but that will be the official page for the campaign page moving forward. So
go ahead and like it right now. It still says Thomas DeVore for Appellate Court. Is that right?
That is correct. Thomas DeVore for Appellate Court. It'll soon just be Thomas DeVore.
Okay, thank you. And so, yeah, you guys can go like or follow, whatever they call it, on that page and all the events that we're going to be doing. I know on March 5th, we're going to be in Quincy, and March 25th and 26th, we're going to be up north in the Rockford area, and we're going to be all over the place. So, yeah, I look forward to that stuff. Again, having those events and watching people, meeting people who have never participated in politics before and how they now have become engaged and they're going to get involved. And again, when they tell me that, I don't know what their beliefs are about anything. I don't care. But, they're going to start getting involved. And the more they get involved, the less chance we have of somebody like J.B. Pritzker doing harm to people like he's done for the last 2 years. I want to make sure that never happens again. It's the only reason I'm running for Attorney General, guys. I want to help you make sure that stuff doesn't happen anymore. And together we can get rid of the corruption in this state. But it's going to take all of you getting involved too. Don't put me in that seat and abandon me, guys. I don't want to do that. If you're going to put me in that seat and it ends up happening, I need you to stay involved, and I'll do everything I can to keep you involved. But we've got to clean house, and we've got to get business taken care of, okay? Is that it? I think. When you making a Chicago appearance, Chrissy says, oh, I'm coming to Chicago. I'm going to be all over the suburbs and the city and all the collar counties. I want to come up there and I want to meet people, because I know there's no difference between the people of the northern part of the state and the people of the southern part. There's not. We're all in this together. And again, I'm coming up there because we're going to figure out how to clean that area up there. We're going to take care of business. Let me see. I think that's it. So that's again, it's been a while, guys. It's about 10:48. Have a good night. We went on a little longer than I expected tonight, but again, I could sit here and talk to you guys all night. So have a good evening. Take care, and I'll see you around. Maybe I'll see you guys in the next day or two at these events.